Our interview this morning is with Raymond Haney. Raymond was born July of 1946 in Ypsilanti, Michigan. He served in the United States Air Force from February of 1965 through July of 1985. Highest rank attained was Master Sergeant E7. This interview is being conducted in Burleson, Texas on Friday, August the 13th, 2010. My name is Dale Dexheimer. I'm not related to Mr. Haney. Also in the room is Milton Gibson. Milton is our videographer. This interview is conducted for the Veterans History Project for the Library of Congress and also for Operation Remember at the City of Burleson. And with that introduction, Ray, we'll let you tell us your story about your years in the U.S. military, sir. Your story.
Well, thank you. Let's see, I started in Ypsilanti, Michigan. My dad was going to the University of Michigan there, and as often happens, I was a result. We moved a lot because Dad was a defense contractor, and he worked with Glenn L. Martin. And because of that, we went to a lot of different places, and we ended up in Maryland. Actually, where I was living mostly in Maryland was in Aberdeen. From Aberdeen, we moved to Longbar Harbor, which was a little piece of Abingdon, Maryland, which it's just all postal information, really. But I went to St. Stephen's School and ended up graduating from Edgewood Senior High. From Edgewood Senior High, I enlisted in the Air Force it was the year after I graduated. It wasn't a lot to do in Abingdon, Edgewood area. I worked at Beta Shoe Company for a little while, and it wasn't where I wanted to spend my time, so I enlisted in the Air Force and showed up at Lackland Air Force Base, San Antonio, Texas, in February of '65, right. Very interesting career. I went from Lackland to Keesler for training, Keesler, Mississippi, and they liked me so much they kept me there so I could teach. And not only did I learn a lot, but I was able to teach a lot of kids, and I think there's a lot of guys out there in electronics that understand better than they would have. From Keesler, I went to, I'm trying to remember the order in which things happened. I went to Thailand. No, I went to Vietnam. And that was in '67, right. And 1967, Vietnam was a pretty hopping place. It was lots of activity going on. But my particular input was I kept the airplanes. I was in communication navigation, and that's as a technician, I kept all the systems working for them. I was in the shop that did that, and I was not the only one over there doing it. Pretty interesting where I was in Vietnam. We had every kind of airplane you could think of, from F-100s, O-1E observation planes, 123 herbicide birds, all the way to T-37s. Well, they weren't really, they were A-37s because we couldn't use. Cute little story, guys they like to ham it up a lot over there, and they put VW symbols on the front of the A-37s because they could fly all day long. I mean, they just went a long time without having to refuel. And of course, the Vietnamese griped at Germany for supporting the Air Force, but it was really just a lark that guys are apt to do. From Vietnam, I went to Georgia, and we trained pilots in both the 37 and the 38. From there, I went to Thailand and Udorn Air Force Base, Thailand. Now, whenever you go to a base, you might have that as a base of operations, but you go a lot of different places. I mean, wherever they need you, you go there and do whatever it is you're supposed to do, and then go back to your home base. That was both Vietnam and in Thailand, and that was lots of interesting the activities of the enemy were such that you had to be careful that you were awake and ready to do. That's why I worked at night, because I didn't want to sleep during a rocket attack or anything. So, knowing this in Vietnam, sleeping one afternoon, I slept right through a rocket attack. I woke up and everybody's gone, and what's going on? And walked out, and they're going, "Where you been?" "In my rack." "Well, you were supposed to be in the bunker." "Well, oh darn, I missed it." That really didn't upset me too much. So you get nicknamed, you know, because I slept through a rocket attack. I mean, so I could sleep really sound. Back to Thailand. Let's see. While in Thailand, my main place that I worked was in Laos. And it was mainly to train the guys up there how to keep the aircraft talking and the direction systems and all the navigation systems operating. I enjoyed that a lot. Those guys were eager to learn, and I had plenty to teach them. Let's see, after Thailand, I went to Virginia, Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, TAC headquarters. And at the time I went to Langley, the very first planes we worked on were the F-15s. And it was the time when the Air Force started doing what they called integration. All of the avionics systems, used to be individual systems, were being integrated into an operating system that the pilots could, instead of having to do 7 different things, they could always operate any portion of it they needed from one. Thus the name integrated system. Well, when they did that, my particular expertise was in test equipment, and that's how we had to be able to test them the way they used them as an integrated system. And the avionics systems worked well. I mean, you know, you have to keep them maintained, and they work well. Let's see. There are a lot of, in order to support that kind of thing, you have to a lot of little bitty trainings that you go to, and they were all over the United States. For radar, we went to Westinghouse in Baltimore. For nav aids, we went to San Diego, California. For and that was really pretty much how they did it, is wherever the expertise that you needed, you went to that location. And I would come back and teach the new guys and just keep it turning over that way. Let's see. We're in Virginia now, and then I got assigned to the F-16. And being a maintenance guy, they wanted somebody in the, what do you call it, the factory where they were building them all. They said, let's have somebody that works on it there to make sure that you can sometimes build something that's not maintainable, and we didn't want that to happen. So we made sure that they had testability, maintainability, all the abilities that you need to support the aircraft. And that was right in Fort Worth. That was where I went to the F-16. And that's pretty much where I spent the rest of my time in the Air Force, was with the F-16. And the, well, I suppose the F-16 is still out there supporting systems. And that's pretty much my whole input.
You certainly got around a lot, didn't you?
Yes,
you
I
saw
did.
A lot of the world.
Yes, I did. I kind of skipped over quickly. In Virginia, I was with the C-130s, and the 130s support the world. I mean, they literally go wherever Air Force operations are, and you go with them. And I used to brag that I've been all but one continent, thanks to the 130s. And a friend of mine says, well, you were in Africa, because I always left Africa out. And he says, no, you were in Africa, because you were in Africa with me. And I went, nah. And he pointed out we went to Egypt, and sure enough, Egypt is in Africa. But you just don't associate desert with Africa. I don't think of it that way, but he was right. So I got to see all 7 continents. And with the F-16, I got to see a lot of technology being integrated into the avionics systems. And there's no question we got the best engineering, best technicians, best pilots. That's what they're after, and sure enough, they got them. I have no idea how long we've been.
We're doing fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. Give a description of how I got trained. They have avionics training at Keesler, Mississippi. That's where I learned and also taught. Kind of get a 2-for-1 location. So it was an interesting and enjoyable time, teaching and learning, both, because that happens, I don't care what you do, you're going to be in the training and learning and passing on, and that's really what you're all about when you're...
Let me ask you about some of these duty stations, if I could, Ray.
Sure.
Comparing some of the places. When you were over at Keesler in Mississippi,
Mm-hmm.
You were enlisted, so you were E3, E4, something like that over there?
Yeah. That's
Lived in a
about-
barracks?
Yes.
Were you married when you were in the service?
No, well, I wasn't married until don't forget, July 1972. So, what was it, 65 to 72?
Right.
I was single, yeah.
So when you were at Keesler, you lived in the barracks,
Mhm.
on the base?
Yes.
Okay. Open barracks?
At the beginning, because as a trainee, you're just in groups of people that are doing similar duties. And plus, it's a continuation of the basic training of the Air Force. And you're going to, what do they call, police the area, those kind of activities where you mowed the grass and raked the lawn and all that.
Had your 3 squares a day in the mess hall?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
have to march the mess hall? You go in formation to the mess hall, or you were
At the
pretty
very
much-
beginning we did, but then, you know, one of the privileges you get, you can choose when you want to go eat.
Chow pretty good?
Oh, yeah. Air Force treats you good for food.
Okay, so now we go on to Vietnam.
Yeah. Still good chow.
Did you live on a base?
Yes, Benoit. At,
So you had U.S. military housing,
oh, yeah.
prefab stuff, I guess?
Well, when we first got there, you know, they were putting things together. We were in like, and they were very small hut areas where you had, I don't know, probably 12, 15 guys to a hut. And it was just open air, screen on the side. They were barracks, but they were little. Then they eventually built regular barracks, and then they had upstairs, downstairs. They even
You
had.
had air conditioning when you moved into the new barracks, the larger barracks?
They eventually got them. I didn't get to enjoy that, but they did get eventually air conditioning, and would sure help when you're sleeping. That was, you did what you had to do.
And you chose to work nights.
Yes, because I thought if you're going to get awakened every night, why not be awake? And that was something too, the shifting for work shifts. Usually I just worked, as long as there was work to be done, you did work. And it was a normal 12-hour shift. It was just people just expected you to work your 12 hours.
You worked 12-hour shifts?
Mm-hmm.
12 on, 12 off?
Right. And that was just a standard thing that you did for, and of course the guy that was opposite your 12 hours, you had some overlap so that you could tell what the situation was when you came on, and you told the next guy when you were leaving. And sometimes you were working on a particular problem that was having trouble. There were, you know, the electronics can get pretty tricky, and when you have a problem, some of them took 2 or 3 days to fix because you couldn't figure out what the problem was. But we got them all working right.
You said you worked nights because you're going to be awake anyway. Were those rocket attacks, or was that a nightly thing, Ray?
Pretty much. It didn't for a while because, and that's interesting because I thought we must be winning the war. I didn't hear anything. And then all of a sudden Tet Offensive happened. And from Tet Offensive on, which was in February of 65, 66. Anyway, from Tet Offensive on, then they were at least 1 or 2 rockets a night. And that was enough to cause pandemonium on the base because once they shoot a rocket at you, then everybody's got to go get in the bunkers and you disturb sleep and all that. It's
harassment.
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
Still in Vietnam, when you were in these huts, before you got the fancy new barracks, I assume the fancy new barracks had showers and regular bathroom facilities. When
Interesting.
You were in the hut.
No, we had shower. The hut that you slept in, you went to another place to shower, and
Okay.
But in the barracks you had regular shower facilities, and every so often one of the duties you had was charge of quarters, CQ, and one night I was on CQ and these Marines came in and they got mud packed up in there, standing around. He says, "I'll give you this 45, you let me take a shower." I said, "Keep your 45. Go, you and your buddies can go shower." And it was not 5, 6 minutes later, I heard this, "Ah, they got hot water." And I guess they weren't accustomed to having hot water. Of course, in the Air Force, we had hot water. It was all the comforts of home.
You mentioned an A-37. What can you tell me about that airplane? How big was it? What was its job?
It's a 2-seater. Here in the States, in fact, I think they're still using them. T-37 is a little, I think they're made by Cessna jet. And it's a 2-seater side by side. And they could stay up all day long. That was why they got the VW symbol put in it, because they would just go a long time without needing fuel. And they carried quite a bit of ordnance. Helped a lot with the Vietnam War, really.
You ever go for a ride in one?
Oh yeah. Actually, not the 37, 38. They would have, it would be like a privilege to go, and this one pilot who came from Israel, and every time he would make a mistake, I would be the technician, and I'd flip the switch that he forgot, or one time he was waving his head around and the cable that connects his speaker was waving around on his, he says, "Everything is working, but I can't talk." So I put the connector up and hit the top of his helmet. "Oh, it works." And I said, well, I never did tell him that he just forgot to connect his. I think that his instructor pilot eventually told him later, but I had my fun too.
You enjoy the ride in that 38?
Oh yeah, that's really quite for a trainer. first of all, it's one of the very few supersonic trainers ever. And I can't remember exactly how high he went, but he went over 30,000 feet straight up. And then he just says, okay, you fly. And I'm sitting, what? Very sensitive, those sticks. That was a side stick that and it was, you just think left and it goes, think right and it goes right. It was fun.
You slept through the rocket attack, and you said something about a nickname. What'd they put on you?
Sleepy.
Sleepy?
Yeah. I mean, you sleep through the rocket attack. Must sleep pretty sound, yeah.
Did you carry that sleepy through all the rest of your tour?
No, that was the only place. That was, and I never told, this is the first time I've told anybody else.
You're not real proud of that one?
Well, you know, not a nickname you're really thrilled about.
If we go on to Thailand, the U.S. was allowed to be in Thailand. Everybody knew we were there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you went up to
Laos. And that was to support the aircraft that the Laotians were using, because the Laotian pilots, they knew where the Vietnamese put their